Castro. Good morning. Wow, I like that. I should take you guys everywhere I go. Muy buenos días. Bienvenidos. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Gracias por estar aquí. I just wanted to introduce myself. How many of you are new parents to our district? If you could raise your hand. Si son papás nuevos al distrito, welcome. Bienvenidos. Thank you so much for being here. So before I get started with the presentation, I just like to share a little bit about myself and who I am and who's leading the district that you've decided to put your children in. My name is Virginia Castro, and I have been in education for 25 years. I started my career as an elementary school teacher. I taught second grade, third grade, fifth grade. And then I took a little time off and went to law school because I wanted to be a criminal defense attorney. So I did mitigation work for capital crimes in downtown LA for 2 years. And I decided that I wasn't making an impact because at that point, it's too late to do anything, right? And there was one last case that I'll never forget. It was a young boy. His name was Damon, and he had made a very, very bad choice in his life. And I grew up in Baldwin Park. So if you know anything about the San Gabriel Valley, Baldwin Park has its gangs. It's considered the hood. And my best friends, both of her brothers were part of a gang in Baldwin Park. And a lot of the kids that I had grown up in had fallen into gangs. So this boy, Damon, reminded me so much of my best friend's little brothers. And I couldn't shake that. He hadn't had good people in his life to help redirect his path. So one night I woke up and I was having a panic attack. And my husband said, why don't you leave? Go back to teaching. I said, I can't. I have these law loans I have to pay off. And he said, you know what? That's when you knew that you were making a difference. Go back to teaching. So I think it was the next night, and I believe in miracles and I believe in fate. But the very next night, a good friend of mine, his name is Luis Cruz, and our staff know him. He called me and he said, hey, Virginia, I'm looking for an English teacher at the middle school. And I said, oh, I don't have an English credential. He said, well, get one because I need you to be my English teacher. So I went back to school, got my English credential, single subject, and then I started teaching middle school at the roughest school in Baldwin Park. It's by this area called The Hole that they swore the Raider Stadium was coming to, and it never came. So I had a lot of little vatos, a lot of little cholitos, and I would talk to them, and you are not going to fail on my watch. And we helped turn that school around. And 3 years later, I got a phone call from the district, and they said, Virginia, you're going to be a principal at the elementary school, lowest performing elementary school in Baldwin Park. And I said, I don't want to be a principal. My friend Luis had asked me to step out of the classroom and be a TOSA, a teacher on special assignment. I said, okay, just 1 year, because I love teaching English to these little rough kids. I had all the naughties in my class. And the next year he said, I need you to be an assistant principal. I said, okay, Luis, just 1 year. And then I'm going back to the classroom. I didn't get that choice because they made me a principal at the elementary school. So when I got to that elementary school, 9% of our second graders could read, only 9%. And I thought, what is happening here? So we did a lot of work. And at that time, it was CST, was a different type of standards. 3 years later, we exited program improvement. We were the top performing school in Baldwin Park. I was invited to be a speaker on Education Nation to talk about the work that we had done. So became a director of special ed. I left Baldwin Park after 13 years. I went to El Monte, which is another little town in the San Gabriel Valley where I'm from. And I was the director of instruction and the assistant superintendent there for 4 years. And in my 9-year trajectory, 5 of our schools became California Distinguished Schools. So I'm very proud of the work that I did. And another day I got a tap on my shoulder, say, hey, Virginia, there's a little district called Lawndale. I said, where's Lawndale? In the South Bay. I'm like, San Francisco? Like, no, the other South Bay. I'm like, San Diego? No, the other South. I'm like, there's another South Bay? Like, yeah, it's by LAX. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's really far. And the person that recruited me to come here said, but Virginia, these kids need you. And I said, oh, don't tell me that because I'm not going to be able to say no. So I looked at the data and I watched the board meetings. And I remember one night I was putting my daughter to bed. So I was on the floor with my laptop doing work. And my husband came in. He's like, is Paloma sleeping? I said, yeah, she's asleep. He's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm applying to Lawndale. He's like, I thought you said it was too far. I'm like, yeah, it's too far. The drive sucks. But you know what? I can make a difference there. So this is my 3rd year here. And I'm here for your children because I believe that every single child, given the right circumstance, can learn. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not expecting all this applause today, but I like it. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about our district and the changes that we have made in the past years. Before I get started, I want to introduce my team to you because this is not just about Virginia Castro. This is about the fabulous people that I get to work with. And I want to start with Dr. Howard Ho. He is our Assistant Superintendent of Business. So he's the money guy. We call him the Chief Business Officer. And then Dr. Tracy Pamilia. She is in charge of our educational services. So everything teaching, learning, teachers, principals, everything that happens and impacts your kids in the classroom. Who else is here? Miss Letty Varela. She is the Director of Teaching and Learning. Dr. Julie Kane, who I'm sure a lot of you know, she's in charge of our English learners, our dual language, our parents, our all of our federal money. What else are you in charge of? All kinds of stuff. Pretty much everything. Okay. We have a lot of support staff. My assistant, Sylvia Howdegi. Another one that works very closely with the parents is Mr. Alberto Paredes. He's new to our team and you'll get to know him, especially if your kids don't come to school. We're going to talk about that because he's in charge of our SAR process. And everybody else, can you guys just wave your hands? All support staff. We have Vanessa, we have Betty, they work in HR. Betty is the assistant to another superintendent who's not here. She's actually up north at a conference, Dr. Lisa Cooper. That's her assistant. Who am I forgetting? There's Michael, Joel, Scott, Ryan, Robert, Liliana, Martha. So these are just some of the people that make everything happen at the district office. So without them, we couldn't do any of it. All right, so let me start the presentation. Our 4 goals, these are the 4 goals that drive our work. And these have been chosen and driven by our school board. So these are the 4 goals that guide everything that we do. And the 4 goals are increasing academic achievement, ensuring access and equity, parental involvement and student engagement, and finally providing 21st century environment. So this means a lot. It might not mean a lot to you, but it means a lot to us. So we have to unpack these goals. I do have a question though. Las mamás que necesitaban interpretación. Oh, okay. Porque no quiero que se pierdan. Do you want her to go back there, Julie? No. Oh, okay. Ahora viene. Pero si necesita que pare y que si entiende bastante, okay, qué bueno. All right, so goal number 1. Oops. So we want to ensure that every single child gets what they need. So we want all children to be successful. And our job is to make sure that we create the programs that enable them to be successful, that we train our teachers with the programs that they need to be successful. So you are all partners in that, but this responsibility first and foremost falls on us. So if you ever hear anything different than that, please let me know. Because one of the biggest icks that I have, you guys like that word ick? I have a teenage daughter, can you tell? Ick. One of the biggest icks that I have is when schools put so much responsibility on the parents. And you have a part to do, but it's not your responsibility. It's our responsibility. So if your child is not learning, you need to let us know and communicate that to us. You're our partners. But I can tell you, I came from a family of immigrants, mis papás son de Argentina, and they worked very, very hard when they got here. My parents were not home. I was a latchkey kid. I had a key. I would let myself in the house and I would prepare my food and do my homework. And my mom didn't come home until 10. And my dad went to his third job at 10 o'clock. So I didn't have parents to sit with me and make sure that I did homework. So I understand the plight of parents, and I understand that sometimes parents aren't available, and that's where we need to come in. So I did want to share some very good news with you. Remember when I told you about the data at the school when I got there and I was a principal? So our data in Lawndale, when I got here, I was a little bit worried. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to come, because 9% of our African-American males, only 9% of our boys were proficient in math. I think it was 8%. And 9% of our English learners were proficient. So I was an English learner. Yo no hablaba inglés cuando empecé la escuela. I didn't speak English when I started school. And I remember I stood in front of the principals and the staff, my very first meeting, and I said, this is not okay. And the assistant superintendent, who's no longer with us at the time, said, Virginia, your comment was off-putting. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't care, because this is why I'm here, to make sure that this data gets better. And if the comment was off-putting, it means that we're not doing everything that we need to do to make sure that our kids are learning. So let's do better. I mentioned he's no longer here, right?
Right.
Okay. So I just wanted to share that right now, this is our data, and we have had some growth. Is it astronomical growth? No, but there's some points that I'm very, very, very proud of that I think that you all need to be aware of. We had 9 or more percentage point increased in some of our schools. Some of our grade levels had between 10 and 22% growth with some of the systems that we put in place in English language arts. And in math is an area that the entire state is struggling in. If you've looked at our any publications, California is struggling in math. And let Ms. Varela and Dr. Pumilia have a really good plan that I'd love to share with you one day about how we're focusing on math in the district.
I think the parents on Zoom cannot see your slides. They're not being shared.
You can't see the slides? Oh, Todd just came in. He's our IT guru. So, okay, thank you. And in math, we had some sites with 8 or more percentage increases, and between 9 and 18%. So is this good? Yes, it's good. Is it perfect? No. Does it mean that our work is done and we're satisfied with the kids that have accomplished great gains? No, because there's still a lot of the kids that haven't. So our work is just beginning, but I'm very proud to say that we are starting to see some very positive gains at our school. So what are we doing to improve student achievement? In English language arts, we have a new curriculum that we adopted last year, and Ms. Varela and her team, we have teachers on special assignment, and they spent summertime training their teachers. They trained all the teachers in these systems of teaching English language arts that actually did show us worked, because we had some great gains in this area. So this year, we're going to just tighten up the screws a little bit more and continue working on that. In math, we have a new curriculum this year. So when we looked at our math scores in the summer, we came together and Dr. Pumilia and Ms. Varela said, okay, this is our focus for the year because our kids need to do better in math. So every single training that our principals and teachers have gone through, this is our focus for the year. We have our math focus. So, the way we are teaching teachers how to analyze data and how to look at each group of kids and how to retweak and teach the kids in their classrooms is surrounded in this math world. English language development. I told you that fui un aprendiz del idioma inglés. I started school not speaking English. So these are kids that are very dear to my heart. We have a huge number of newcomer students in our district, a lot of unaccompanied minors. And what we did last year is we created programs just for them. So we had newcomer academies because these babies came to us from Guatemala, El Salvador, Mexico, South America, and some of them had never been in school. So we realized we're doing a disservice to these kids. So our group of alerts that are also under Dr. Julie Kane, created specific academies to help them acculturate into the culture, get basic vocabulary, have access to social workers. So we're doing a lot for our students, every single group of students with their unique needs. And our English learners receive 30 minutes of English language development, because before they leave us, before they get to high school, we want to make sure that we're reclassifying our students. Does anybody know why? Can you share why? What happens if they get to high school?
If the students are not reclassified, then they will have to take intervention learning, which means instead of taking extracurricular activities such as music, or any of the other ones offered, they will have to take intervention. That would be the same case if the children who speak English, if they don't pass the scores, they will also go to intervention.
So ELD, that's
opportunity.
correct. ELD is their elective if they don't reclassify. Same at our middle schools. And Dr. Ho was a former high school principal. And one day, if you're interested, he can talk to you about the A through G requirements. Do you guys have any high schoolers here? Okay, so A through G is what they need in order to graduate from high school and make it into a Cal State or a UC. And if they don't have these requirements and some of the things that the parent here mentioned, some of the requirements like music, fine arts, foreign language, if they don't have that, they can't get into college. So what are we doing with these group of kids? We're depriving them of an opportunity. So our biggest goal is to make sure that our kids reclassify if they can before they get to our middle schools. And if they can't reclassify there, at least before we send them to high school, that they are English, proficient in English, so that they have access to these courses and they have access to college. ¿Qué pasó con esto? It's not working. No. Can you click
What
it?
happened with this? It's not working.
Control F.
Huh?
We don't have many computers going.
All right, so last year we started a district-wide assessment, and we're using this. It's called our iReady. We take this test 3 times a year, all the grades. Kinder started a little bit later because we have to make sure that they know how to regulate themselves once they're in school. There's a lot of social emotional work that has to go into kindergartners, but they take it 3 times a year. And we know exactly where every child is at the beginning of school. All of your kids, if they're in 1st through 8th grade, just took it. Did they talk to you about it?
Yeah.
I hope they did. Okay. We're taking a test. It's on the computer. So we get those results, and then we teach our teachers how to use those results to create focused educational goals for each of their kids. So that's something that we started last year. It also tells us, it gives us a prediction of how the kids are going to do on the SBAC. So whatever you think about the state assessments, I know that there's a lot of controversy around them, but the bottom line is that this is how the state judges us and how we're kind of graded by the state. So we try very hard not to let that be the only prediction of a child, but unfortunately, even when people are looking for houses, you know what they look at? How the schools did on the SBAC, right? So we need to do better. I think you're a real estate agent? No, you're a banker, that's right. So home loans, right? They want to live in areas where schools are performing well. So we need to make sure that our SBAC scores reflect the intelligence of our kids. So data-informed instruction, I talked a little bit about that, how we're using our data to make sure that kids get what they receive, regardless of where they are academically. And we have a lot of processes, district-level support systems to get this to happen. So talked about this. What are our action steps? 3 district drivers that I introduced last year were data-informed instruction. So everything that happens in your classroom is based on data. So starting with kindergarten. If 5 kids in the kindergarten class don't know how to identify letters, guess what their goal is? To learn how to identify letters. So we create groups. We do small group instruction, everything around specific targets of what the data is telling us that the kids need in order to achieve. Professional learning community. Dr. Pamili and Miss Varela just took all of our principals to a training and some teacher leaders to learn how to do this. And one day I'll write a book about all the success that, that I had in my past career and how this is so effective, because it teaches teachers how to talk about teaching and how to talk about data and how to retweak what they're doing in their classrooms to make sure that the kids are learning. And then our multi-tiered systems of support. So where's Mr. Paredes? He oversees part of this, social emotional learning, behavior, all of that is also part of this umbrella. So we understand that it's not just about academics, right? When I talked about our newcomer students, we know that kids are coming to us with a lot of trauma. Some of our kids are in foster homes. Some of our kids have lost parents. So all of that impacts the way they learn, right? If kids are hungry, if kids are homeless, how do we expect them to sit in class all day and just gather information? So we identify these things using our multi-tier systems of support, and we give children what they need in order to succeed. And part of that is also teaching, right? So if they're not getting it in what we call tier 1, then we give them interventions, tier 2. If they still don't get it, we move them on to tier 3. So all of these systems that happen behind the scenes are making sure that our kids are getting what they need in order to succeed. How can you help? I know this is why you're here, right? So parents, this is a tough one because I have a 14-year-old at home. Monitor their cell phones. How many of you guys can relate that this is like the biggest heartache if you have a child with a phone? Yes, okay. So my daughter hates it when I talk about her. She's like, why do you have to embarrass me? I'm like, well, she'll never hear this, right? This is recorded? Oh, she might. Okay. The last time she got very upset with me when I shared it at a board meeting that she happened to be watching. So my daughter has limited access to her phone. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes that's very hard, even for your superintendent to control her daughter's phone. So please don't judge yourself and feel bad. But there are some things that I do not let my daughter do. One of them is take the phone into the bathroom with her.
Right. That's right.
Because kids are not developed fully. And I remember my oldest, I have a 26-year-old who's a teacher, teaching kindergarten this year. And I remember one of her best friends sending a boy nudes during high school, and that pretty much ruined this child's life. So my biggest fear as a mom is to make sure that my daughters don't do something stupid like that, right? So my daughters are not allowed, well, the 26-year-old I have no control over, but the 14-year-old is not allowed to take her phone into the bathroom. The other thing she's not allowed to do is to have her phone in the room at night while she's sleeping. Because the first time I did the same thing with my oldest. And I remember I had plugged in her phone, and at 1, 2 in the morning, the little phone is going off. Her friend's texting her. So if that phone were in my daughter's room, guess what she's going to be doing all night? Looking at it, responding to her friends. And there's a saying, right? Nothing good happens after midnight. I truly believe that. Nothing good happens after midnight. So make sure that your children, if they have a phone, that phone stays in your bedroom. And you charge it at night. And if they get mad at you, say, you know what? Miss Castro told us to do this. So put it on me.
Right now. In the car.
So you can put the blame on me, and they can talk to me when I visit their classrooms and say, you, and I'll take it. It's okay. The other thing that you can do is attend our parent workshops. So I know a lot of the parents here, I recognize you from our parent workshops. We have a lot of things. If you are not a citizen, and you would like to become a citizen, NALEO is an organization that we brought on last year, and they do citizenship workshops for parents. So we want you to have the ability to vote and to be a citizen of the United States with all the rights that comes with, especially voting. Because if you watch the vote, I'm not going to get into politics, but you know that our children are impacted by the decisions of whoever is in office, right? Including your school board. So if you don't like the direction of the school board or the city council, you can make that determination by voting. So parents who are eligible to be citizens, please attend the Naleo workshop and let us help you do that. We have ESL classes. Para los papás que no hablan inglés, tenemos clases para que aprendan el inglés. Tenemos una partnership. ¿Cómo se dice partnership? Una sociedad, sí, con El Camino College. Se me está saliendo la pocha, right? Because I've been in America too long. Okay, so we have a partnership with El Camino College, and they offer ESL classes for our parents. So we had our first group of parents who, ooh, look at that. Ve y vota. Ooh, me gusta esa camisa. Please vote. Yes.
How do we know like the schedule to the parent workshop?
Good question. Dr. Kane, how do they know the parent schedule for the workshops?
We put out all of our workshops through parents. They're also on the Family U calendar, and we will send them out with your community liaisons. There's lots coming up. Pay attention. I see one of our instructors here, our Spanish for parents, Miss Brenda Veronica right here. We also have English classes that we post. We'll have supporting your children with math. Lots and lots of good things coming.
How many of you are on Parent Square? Okay, how many of you are not on Parent Square? Una, okay. I'm looking at Liliana Martinez. Can you please help that parent before she leaves today? Okay, you need to be on Parent Square, yes.
Birdie's starting to know how to work the app. Is there any way that you guys can show me like where I would see the parent workshop?
Yeah, we can stay after and help you navigate that. So Miss Martinez, raise your hand. She's our community and communications coordinator. So she helps with all community events, everything that's posted on social media, that's Miss Martinez. So she can help you. And we're also going to offer parent workshops this year at the sites, right? With our community liaisons. We have 2 in the room. Raise your hand, community liaisons. So they're going to be helping parents make sure that you get the communication that you need. All right, let's talk about attendance. Because it's bad. It's an epidemic in the state of California. Have you guys read those articles? Kids are not coming to school. So who's responsible for getting a child from preschool to 8th grade to school? Point at yourselves. I'll point at myself too. Because I'll be honest with you, sometimes when my daughter has a tournament all weekend, Mom, it's Monday. I want to say, okay, baby, we'll just stay in bed on Monday. Nobody will notice that we're not there. No, guess what? School notices, my work notices, so we can't do that, right? We need your children to be in school. So whose job is that, parents? Remember when I said we're responsible for educating your children and giving them what they need? That's your most important job, is making sure your kids come to school. So when you're, oh, but my throat hurts, my back hurts, you know, if you are not sure if they're telling you the truth, we have nurses, we have clerks, they can take their temperature, and they can say, no, baby, you're okay to stay. You know, we'll take care of them. And I get it. As a mom, I get it. It's hard, especially after COVID. We got spoiled by COVID because our kids would roll out of bed with their pajamas, log into Zoom, and they would roll back into bed, and it was so wonderful, right? But please, please, please. Is there anything you want to add, Mr. Paredes?
I want to remind you guys that one absence doesn't seem like much, but they add up. And they're spread out. So these Monday lateness to a whole week of school being lost, and if you keep going, it can be a month. So pay attention to that. And as a reminder, I don't know how many of you guys go to the gym, but the hardest part is getting there.
Yes.
Right? Put it that way. Once your child is up and dressed, that's it. Just get them there.
Thank you. So our second goal is eliminating barriers. So this goes to our MTSS, right? If our children are having food insecurity, housing insecurity, we have resources in the district. So anything that is coming in the way of children learning, it can be a behavior problem. It can be that they need special ed supports. All of those things are our second goal, and they're covered by this. So we want to make sure that our job is to remove these barriers. That's where this umbrella comes in. So one of them is data-informed instruction. That's the academics that I talked to you about, right? It's like when you go to the doctor and you get blood work, and then they know exactly how to treat you. That's what our data does. Our data is like the blood work for our kids. It tells us exactly what they need. And we use that to redefine how we teach them and how we're running our classrooms. Social, emotional, behavior, attendance, all of these things are another way that we eliminate barriers from school by giving students the support that they need. We have social workers at every single one of our schools and 2 social workers at FDR and at Rogers. And part of their work is making sure that the kids feel safe, that if there's anything bothering them, bullying, attendance, all the things that you read about in the media, our social workers make sure that they do that. Regulating themselves, even as adults, right? I told you guys I have a very long drive. And I have to practice breathing sometimes on those drives because, you know, California drivers, especially downtown LA, oof. So I'm glad that I know how to regulate myself as an adult, because if not, you might see me on the news. Well, we want to make sure that our children have those skills too. So we teach them how to breathe. We teach them mindfulness. We teach them how to calm their bodies. You know, what's appropriate. I always tell kids, especially when I did criminal defense work, there's a certain expectation of citizens in this country, right? And our kids need to know how to conduct themselves when they go to a court, when they come to school. So part of our job as a school is teaching them that social language and what's acceptable. And part of that comes to this. How do you regulate yourself in an academic environment? How do you speak to your teachers? And parents, you all model that, right? So kids learn that. I was listening to a podcast the other day about a very challenged young man and how his dad was very defiant toward authority and law enforcement and even his teachers. So he ended up, you know, doing a shooting. And it's okay, well, how much of that was learned behavior, right? Because kids are sponges. So the way you treat teachers and the way you talk to principals and the way you talk to law enforcement when they pull you over, they're absorbing that, right? And in order for them to be successful, they have to know how to speak that language and how to conduct themselves. So I did want to highlight that last year with our social emotional program, we received some awards. So every single one of our schools received a California PBIS recognition. We had 2 schools that received the gold award. There's only one level higher, it's platinum, and Mr. Bosler from Twain already said he's going to be a platinum school next year, so I like that competition. 4 of our schools received a silver and 2 of our schools received a bronze. So very proud of the work that we're doing to help heal the kids emotionally, right, in order for them to be successful academically. Thank you. So remember when I told you that my whole team of people here helped me do the work? We also have some outside partners that I'm very proud of partnering with, and these are just some of them. So one of the things that I am not ashamed of saying, and I think it's because of my own experience, I'm a woman of color, I'm a proud Latina, I'm an English learner, grew up in poverty. I was part of a marginalized community. A lot of our kids are too, right? Whether that's Black, Latino, LGBTQ, whatever label we put on our children, some of them need extra supports. So we have partners that come in and help us do this work. We have Trajectory of Hope, USC Race Center, 100 Black men. We forgot to put them on here. We need to add them to it. We have Nicole Anderson and Associates. This year we had Dr. Victor Rios. Are any of you familiar with Dr. Victor Rios? You need to Google this man because he grew up in Oakland, California, was part of a gang. His mom was a drug addict. He was homeless, and now he's a professor at UC Santa Barbara. So I love his story because he talks about how parents need to be seen by their educators and how we need to believe in all children. And we used to call kids at risk when they were at risk of dropping out or at risk of going to prison. And I believe he coined the term at promise. Our kids are not at risk. They are at promise because they have the promise and potential to be anything that they want to be with our help, this collective group in here.
Excuse me,
Yes, ma'am.
Rios?
Rios.
Victor?
Rios. R-I-O-S.
Yes.
Victor Rios. Goal 3. Improving parent engagement. This is you guys. So what do we do to ensure that our schools have safe and welcoming, healthy, inspiring climates for all students and families so that all students are behaviorally and academically engaged in school and ready to learn? So what does this mean in layman's terms? It means that our schools have to be welcoming environments to help kids succeed and to help parents feel welcome there. So we talked about some of these things, how we partner with parents. So PBIS, it helps us have positive behavior structures for our kids. Partners with parents, communication. Make sure that you attend all of your parent conferences and you ask questions. And we can do a workshop. I'd like to do a workshop with parents about what questions to ask. Because in our culture, I don't know, si las mamás latinas here, or if you had a Latina mom, well, does my child behave in school? That's the word. ¿Se porta bien? Mi hija se porta bien?
Do they behave? Does
So much more than
my
that.
daughter behave well? Does my daughter
You
behave
should
well?
be asking, how's my child doing on the iReady? What did my child get in the SBAC? What are the structures that you have in your classroom to support my child if they're having a bad day and are acting out? Is there a calming corner for them? What if my child isn't at grade level in the iReady? So if they're a 5th grader and they're scoring at 3rd grade, teacher, maestra, what are you going to do to make sure? I want you to feel empowered to ask these questions of our teachers. So this is where your job comes in, right? You need to educate yourself. If you're not happy with something at the school, what rights do you have? Who knows? What do you do first? If you have a question, talk to the teacher, and then
There is also community liaison
right here, community liaisons, and then
for a lot. If that doesn't work, then the principal, and if not, the district.
the district. So all the people that I welcomed earlier, right? All of these people are your resources. So we are all here. And you know what? I'm going to be completely blunt and completely honest. My children have had teachers that I didn't like. And Miss Castro was Mama Bear, and I went in there, why are you doing this? I can share a story that my daughter in high school took American Sign Language, and her teacher showed them 2 hours worth of Happy Feet. You guys know the movie Happy Feet? Yeah, that was my reaction. Why are you spending 4 classroom periods? And she said, oh, because it talks about a penguin with a disability and people that sign are deaf. And I said, oh, okay, so 4 days of a Happy Feet when you should be teaching my child, this is her foreign language, right? Remember we talked about A through G? So Mama Bear was not very happy. I wasn't happy at the teacher's response. So I went to the assistant principal. The assistant principal, I still wasn't happy with his response, so I had to go to the district office, right? So don't feel bad if you have to do that. I'm not encouraging it because usually we try to help resolve, but know that you have resources and you have answers. We do want you to encourage having good relationships at school with your teachers. None of our teachers will show Happy Feet for 4 days. I guarantee you that. But if they do, please let me know. Attendance recovery. If your children, I know they're sick. If they're sick or you have a family emergency and they can't come to work, we have attendance recovery programs. We have Saturday school where they can make those days up and they don't miss out on learning. And our Saturday school programs, our old director of support services said, you know, the children like them so much, can we stop offering them? Because we don't want to encourage them. No, this is good. But they're very popular. We don't want them to be more popular than coming to school, but the kids learn a lot and they have a lot of fun. Yes.
Is it still going on?
Yes, it's still going on. When are they starting?
Starting in spring this year. We found that not too many students were coming in the fall, but we're going to double up in spring.
Well, they start getting concerned with, you know, when their absences, oh, I have a lot of absences I need to make up. So in the spring, we'll start offering that. Thank you. All right. So we have a lot of ways for parents to get involved. We have a lot of leadership opportunities, and Dr. Kane can talk about those, but we have our DLAC, our ELAC. What else do we have? DPAC.
Our newest special needs family support group that starts on October 1st.
Yes.
First time ever. We're very excited.
Get involved. And I shared the story about my mom. My mom did not speak English, but my mom was fiery, just like me. And when I started school, my mom wanted to be involved. And we had a wonderful community liaison. Her name was Ramona. And she told my mom, Señora Estela, you need to come because you're passionate, you're caring about your girls' education. So my mom became PTA president, and she didn't speak English, and she graduated from ESL. And when they finally sold their house, like, we found my mom's little, it was a green cardboard graduation hat, and I should have kept it, but we didn't. But I was so proud of my mom as a child because my mom was at my school, and I felt so important that my mom was there and was PTA president. So whenever she could, she was there. Of course, my mom worked, so she couldn't always be there, but the little bit that she could, she was there because of Ramona, our amazing community liaison. So please don't let that stop you if you don't speak English. Remember Miss Castro's mom? We have support for our parents. We talked a little bit about that, our ESL classrooms. We have our Spanish as a second language, and we have the teacher here, Miss Brenda. You want to share a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah, I'm volunteer for the classes of Spanish. And when I was living in Mexico, I was a teacher for Spanish as a second language, also Spanish as level of middle school. So it was my passion. I love to teach Spanish. So I volunteered to teach Spanish to all the parents who doesn't speak Spanish and also has their kids in the dual immersion program. So the kids are talking Spanish and maybe the parents don't even understand what their kids are telling. So yes, I'm volunteer for this program, and all of you are welcome if you want to enroll in our class.
So if you're interested in any of these programs, let's give her a round of applause. Volunteer training. We have targeted parenting classes for different issues that you might have with your children. And we always have interpretation and translation. Are you getting interpretation? ¿Están traduciendo todavía, no? La señora no tiene. Oh, sí, sí. Oh, okay, qué bueno. See, right there. Okay.
Somebody was having trouble accessing it. She said, now we're getting it.
Okay. Community partners. We're very proud of our partners. We have a really good relationship with the city. They helped repair our parks this past year. If you go to our parks, we have a contract with them. Like I mentioned, Camino College, they offer classes to us. So if you're interested in that, little company of Mary, how many of you were at our grand opening of our wellness center? Yes. Okay, good. So we have a wellness center at Anderson Park at the back of Anderson School, and we're going to be offering parent classes there. And what about Centinela Valley? So our high school district, we've been doing a lot of collaboration, Dr. Nelman and myself and his team and our team, and we want to create a streamline, a pathway. They have wonderful programs there. Are any of your kids in high school? Good. Okay. They have wonderful programs there, and we want to figure out a way to tap into those. I'm looking at Dr. Pamilia, the career and technology pathways. So robotics, how can our robotics classes link to theirs? They have an amazing culinary arts program. They teach kids how to be chefs. And we would love to start something like that here. So a lot of good stuff happening. And then this year, super excited about this. Superintendent's Leadership Council. So I'm going to be honest, I miss the kids. I miss being a teacher. So this year I want to have a leadership team with your children. And the schools, they identified student leaders and they recommended them. I think there were about 42. And Ms. Martinez said, okay, we have to choose. And I said, no, let's just take them all. Let's take all 42. We'll figure it out. Because I didn't want to reject any of the kids that had been nominated. But 4th through 8th grade students are going to be part of my leadership team because I want to hear what's happening at the school from your perspective, right? Because if we're not making our customers happy, and guess who's our first customer? Your kids, right? So they need to let us know what they need and what they like and what they don't like. When my first year here, I went to Rogers Middle School and I had lunch with the kids and we talked about the lunch program and they had a lot of opinions about it. So of course I came back and I shared that with our director of nutrition. And last year, cabinet, Dr. Millian, Dr. Cooper, Dr. Ho and myself were invited to, was it Rogers or Adams? Rogers. And the kids, their leadership team shared how we needed to do a better job of having refillable water stations for them. So guess what we did? We did it. We made it happen. So we we told them, thank you so much for all the research and the presentation that you made for us. They had a little PowerPoint presentation. So we want to continue to build that, right? And I think if students have an opportunity to be here, superintendent and cabinet at this level, and know how a district works and the possibility that they have and the potential they have to make change for themselves and learn to advocate for themselves, that's a powerful tool we can give the kids. So I'm super excited about that. We're starting in October. Hopefully some of your children will be part of that. So connecting with us. If you don't know how, please stay behind and we'll make sure that you learn and that you're connected so that you can get all those parent ed messages and parent square messages and know the resources and the classes when they're available and when they're offered. We want to make sure that you stay in touch and informed of all the wonderful things happening in our district. So finally, 21st century learning environment. If our schools are not safe and comfortable for kids to learn, then it's not going to happen. So I'm very proud of the work that we've done and the programs that we've offered. One of the biggest things, right, and you know this because you hear about AI and coding and robotics and how our world is going to be taken over by robots one day. Do you believe that? No, we don't believe that. But we want to make sure that our kids know how to control the computers, right? And how to work computers, because this is the future.
Yeah.
So every single one of our schools has makerspace labs where they learn robotics, they learn how to build, they learn how to code, because we want to make sure that we are creating the world's future engineers, mathematicians, computer engineers, NASA astronauts, all of those things, right? And new in this year, we have third grade attending twice a month. So fourth and fifth grade, yes. There's a question? Oh, yes, question.
Yes, I have a question. What about for the iPads? Did they give it for the kinder kids or no? Because I know that I remember the last year they give it for TK and kinder, but this year did it happen or no?
Yes, please.
The iPads in TK and K, they're staying in the classroom.
Okay. For TK, for kinder? For kinder
TK
either?
kindergarten.
All of our students have either iPads in the very lowest grades, and then they get Chromebooks. They're all staying in the classroom this year as we go into ethics. Everybody has a device in the school.
So we talked a little bit about the babies, third, fourth, and fifth. They have access to these STEM and computer spaces, the maker spaces. And then this continues with more intense robotics and engineering classes in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So if you have children at the middle schools, I highly recommend that you visit this. Ask your principal when you can come see these programs. They are amazing. I was at Rogers the other day, and the kids learned how to make robots, and the robots, full-on robots, and what they're doing. They also had a science class where they were creating a device using kinetic energy to help have resources during an emergency. I was like, okay, wow, right? How do we take that class, right? And one of the little girls even put it on me. It was a rubber band, and I had to move my finger to make the flashlight turn on so that during an earthquake, I can find the missing people and the rubble. I was so impressed. So there's impressive things happening in our schools. This year, we're going to have our first Lego League. So this is not just Legos. This is Lego robots. And they go to a competition and they compete with other Lego creators. They have robots and they have to program them to do a series of things. It's an amazing event, and our kids are going to be participating in this for the first time this year. So ELD support, we talked about this, the importance of being bilingual, maintaining their home language, and also being proficient in English. Because of course we know that the language in the United States is English, so we want our kids to be proficient. And we want to make sure that they do this. So twice a month, our ELD classes go to learn ELD with STEAM. So the science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, but ELD to make sure that they're getting that support as well. We have some amazing buildings happening. Have you seen the construction? No? Okay, well, we had some play structures at Twain and Mitchell. We have a 2-story building that's going to be built at Rogers to make sure that it looks as beautiful as Jane Addams does. We want both of our middle schools to be equal, and that will be hopefully July of 2025. We use our bond money for those projects and the facilities. So we had asphalt completed at Adams School, and our Rogers Administrative Building is in the process of being completed. So hopefully that'll happen soon. We are changing these are like dinosaurs, right? These marquees, you see the poor custodians go with the little magnetic letters and they have to like change them every day. So with the help of our IT team and Dr. Ho, we want to modernize, and we're trying to change these out. They're pretty expensive. If I told you how much they cost, you fall off your chair, so I won't do that. But we do want to modernize, and this is our way of reaching out to you too. So when you're driving through a school to drop off your kids, oh, there's a coffee with the principal, I need to come next Thursday, right? And it's so much easier to see. So that's one of the planning stages that we have. I talked about this, how the kids advocated for this. So we're so happy that our schools have these drinking fountains, these refillable water stations. And they have access to clean drinking water. And of course, we're doing our part for the environment too, because we want them to be responsible and not waste, right? So they bring their water bottles, they fill them in school. Fencing projects. All of these schools are getting these beautiful wrought iron fences. So if you drive around our district, you can see them. They're actually safer. They're more difficult to climb, and they're aesthetically pleasing. Aren't they beautiful? Yeah. So we're very happy about that. So we completed Anderson, Twain, and Adams, and we're planning at Green and Carson. So more to come. So we had a couple of scares last year at one of our middle schools. And we really decided that we needed to get more serious about keeping our kids safe. So two of the things that we did is we started Zero Eyes. I don't want to talk too much about how it works because we know that we're not supposed to share details about safety plans, but just know it's a weapons detection system where if they spot a weapon on campus, it alerts everybody that needs to be notified. And we actually had during the summertime, funny but not so funny, our summer rap program was using water guns. And it detected it. So we're like, oops, oh yeah. Okay, don't bring water guns for the, summer, even summer, But we know it works. So that was a good thing, right? And then we also have a canine. So we have drug dogs and bomb alert dog, Buster. I met Buster, so cute. The kids love him. So the kids are asked to leave the classrooms. The dog goes in and sniffs and alerts our staff if there's anything that shouldn't be there. And our first year, we did find some vapes. Last week when they were there, they found nothing. So I think that the message has gone across, right? We don't bring things that are not supposed to be in our schools to school.
Castro, it also detects alcohol.
And it doesn't sniff adults, right? Might have some unhappy adults.
They come and do that inspection.
It's random. So our principals know, and the staff that needs to know. So they come, is it once a month?
Just twice a month.
Twice a month to our middle school. Yes, ma'am.
Cuando llevan los,
When they take the dogs to the school, do they warn ahead of time?
Sí, ese es el punto, ¿no? Porque si saben los niños, oops, I'm not going to bring this water gun.
It's surprise. It's surprise. That's the whole point. It needs to be a surprise.
Building and bridging. What are we going to continue doing? So I talked about the three drivers, right? Being data informed, our multi-tier systems of support, and our professional learning community. So this year, we continue the work that we started last year, and we just keep building and growing from there. So I like this quote by James Clear: you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So one of the things that we always identify are what systems are not working, and we work to fix those systems. So still a work in progress. There's always room to improve, but we're continuing to build and grow. And I'm very proud of the work that we've done and the growth that we've made. So thank you all for entrusting your children, because your children, I know as a mom, that's your treasure. So in order to give your children, and for me to say they're in a good place, I have to believe that, right? So I thank you for entrusting your children to us. And I guarantee you, as an educator and as a mom, that I will continue to do everything in my power to make sure that your kids are in a place where I would put my girls in. Questions? Yes. I'll start here and then, yes.
I'm a parent from twins. This is my second year, and I've been helping a school garden a lot. It could be a lower priority for the district, but I noticed there's only one person in charge of the school garden for whole district.
Yes.
Then I've seen a lot of kids and teachers are loving having a garden lessons, cooking lessons. But we only have one person in charge of a whole district, so there might be a low opportunity to have the classes. Do you have any plans
So we
to?
have a master gardener that
Yeah.
I know we contract with the district and she teaches the kids. So we have a few. We have other gardeners that come to some of our schools and they have the clubs with the kids and they teach them how to weed. And I'm not sure what's happening at Twin, but I can talk to your principal to make sure that.
Yeah, last year we had a person coming in every other week.
Oh, okay.
But this year,
Maybe it hasn't started yet.
no.
He said
It
no?
has started. It's just one person.
Okay, let me find out.
Yeah, doing the whole garden works for whole other school. So she only comes once a week.
Is it teacher Chris?
No,
Yeah.
teacher
No, he
Chris
was
is,
last year.
so we need him.
We would love to have him back.
Yeah.
We wanted to grow emails to the gardening so that we can contact him so that we can get that extra support. But we're doing this for the children because the children sometimes we found out that they don't eat all the veggies at homes, but
They'll try it in the garden.
but when Chris was
Yeah.
like creating this like salsa with kiwi and all of these, the kids will like try it and you know,
They
it was
can't even
good.
identify some of the fruits and vegetables.
No.
They don't even know what they are.
And we really wanna support this gardening department and just with one person is not going to.
Where's Dr.
happen.
Ho? Oh, he left just in time. Right when we asked him for money, he took off.
We were a little spoiled at Twain because Chris made a huge impact on our students. Kids would run out and tell their parents, I ate onion today, you know, and their parents, are like,
Gratitude.
how? Right, all these, and it was always a topic. Mr. Chris, what are you gonna, we miss him.
Miss him. But yeah, the gardening, it's maybe not just the gardening for somebody, but it's helping a lot to the kids
And we
too.
talked about social emotional wellness, right? That's part of our, so I'll look into it.
Yeah, and then after summer, it was,
Yeah, so we wanted to volunteer during summertime, but we couldn't get access to this the
oh,
school and to maintain the garden the way, you know, it was all nice. And then we came back to school and the garden was all.
The
yeah.
garden took a break during the summer.
Adams. I know they had it before.
So please, if you want to work in our gardens, I'm sure that our principals would love to have parent
Yeah.
volunteers if you're into gardening. When is our volunteer fair, Dr. Kane?
10:30 airs on Monday.
Monday.
So come and check us out. Our nutrition and wellness team will be there and we are looking for volunteers to support. So please come.
And if you're interested in the garden, I'm sure the principals would love to have you.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's at our community wellness. Center.
What the kids not actually?
It should be, right? It should be.
Kids should know how to.
So I'll
work
look
the
into
garden.
that, because I know that at some of the schools, the kids are actually the ones that are weeding.
They were, we were. However, during the summer, we had
We
excessive heat.
cannot start because the garden is really
Not
bad
safe right
condition.
now.
Yeah, so kids
Okay.
cannot come in and then we only have one person once a week.
Well,
So,
thank you for sharing with me.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to ask, but you're right. The kids are the ones who keep the garden.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The kids would love the worm part.
Absolutely.
yeah.
And they do. So at Mitchell, I know that they even have the compost. They
Yeah.
learned how they fed a pair of jeans to the worms and the worms ate the jeans. I mean, it's amazing, right? They learn all of this agricultural skills. Yes.
We have under question and answers, it says, can we discuss the last week's false alarms? Wednesday, Mitchell had a false alarm by an intruder, and on Thursday, Jams has a false fire alarm. that was the purpose of, what was the purpose of these false? If they were accidental, what consequence did the students or staff receive?
So I know that I'm aware of the one at Adams, and that was a child who pulled the fire alarm. We don't discuss student consequences with other parents for privacy reasons. Sometimes it's a glitch in the system, like we just had a little beep right now. Todd, did you want to address any of that? False alarms, the schools?
So with the false alarms, we have actually had a couple of those over the last couple of years with our system. And so we've made some adjustments to that and also provided training to the staff to let them know how the system works and how to use it and how to not accidentally set it off. So we're about halfway through making the adjustments on all the school sites right now to try to avoid that issue.
And I know you see that clock back there. That's our clock that notifies the schools. It actually gives you specific directions when there's a real emergency. And like Mr. Barker said, we had some teachers or staff members that were accidentally setting it off with their codes on their phones. So we did provide some training. So we don't like false alarms. The good thing about false alarms is that we know that our systems are working. So, you know, we just take them as they come. Mom, and then I had her first, so let me get to you and you after. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, this is like way off topic, but I just want to say thank you because you gave me so much clarification. And so this is actually going to be our first full year of public school. We came from private school and they've been in private school since they've been able to be in school. So I was actually scared to put them in public school because their school was doing too much online. So my children were like, Mom, I want friends. And I'm like, okay, we're going to public school.
Good.
And I was so scared because their school was so strict. My children are well mannered, like with, teachers and everything. And I was just scared. I'm like, oh my goodness. But a lot of things that I was not like, and I'm sometimes shy to ask, but I do, because it's about my children.
Right.
And I take so much pride in their education because I work so
As you
hard
should.
with them
Yes.
to get them to where they're my son is a grade ahead of where he's supposed to be. They're really good, smart children. And I was scared that they're gonna fall off when they came to public school. And no, they're like, it's really nice. I love it. And right now, everything that you just presented, it answered so much
I'm so
of
happy
what
to
I
hear
wanted
that.
to know.
Thank you.
Yes.
What school do your children go to?
My son now goes to Lawndale High School and my daughter goes to FDR.
Nice. Okay.
Yes.
Well, welcome.
And I'm
to
happy
Lawndale.
with everything. I'm
Wonderful.
very
Well, welcome.
subjects and everything. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
thank you
appreciate
so
that.
much.
Thank you. Like a fire alarm. Yeah. I was in campus when
Alarm went off for, they had a violent intruder.
yeah.
Do they have to put in a code before it goes off, or how does that work?
So the way that was set up, it depends on the phone. It happened actually from an office phone, and on the office phones, we make it was relatively simple to actually trigger the alarm. That's the feature that we removed. It's still there. They can trigger the alarm, but it can't be accidentally done.
But it was
But
accidentally.
it was accidentally done
The
the
kids,
other day.
I mean, I don't know, the parents don't know, but it yells out violent intruder,
It was
violent,
very-
and the alarm is loud. There was
was
one
really
class,
scary.
there was 4 kids crying, 3 were praying. It was like very traumatic.
The kids outside, I mean, me and another parent were there and kids were running.
Oh,
So it was a little bit intense,
yeah.
even for us parents.
Because I was there right after for the back to school, right? And so I talked to a lot of the teachers and a lot of the parents. And one of the things I said, I hate to make a bad thing good, but if there was a good thing about it, because they said that the teachers reacted very well. The students got where they needed to get and were in the classroom with the doors locked, lights off. So it was a drill, unexpected and unfortunate, but everybody reacted very well.
Well, now during recess, you see little groups and they're planning their escapes. Like what fence could they jump? Because it was traumatic. They were
I
really
think it
scared.
was the
You
older
know,
kids.
as horrible as that is, I'm happy to hear that. Because that's where
I did not want my kid to be that scared
I
and
know.
go through that.
but if it really happens in real life,
Right.
at least they're
Right.
prepared.
Yes, right. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I know,
I
I think
I
because
know
I was a parent there
You felt it.
and the way that sounded
Yeah.
was the most scariest thing, because I'm in the lounge, right? I'm part of PTA, so I was in the lounge, and when that goes off, the first thing in your mind is my kids. I have two,
Right.
one's on one side of the campus, another one's on the other side. And we had one of the office people in there, so it was.
It's not an easy topic. It's not.
like the life we live in now,
Right.
but it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
I would prefer 5 drills instead of them actually being scared for their life. Like, yes, have drills, but in this case, they really thought there was an
Right.
intruder, and then it yells out, police is on their way.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I think it was
that's
unnecessary.
It was intense.
Yeah, it sounds
Not gonna
like.
lie.
Can I encourage you guys to reach out to the site social worker? Share your concerns, and maybe they'll work with the teacher to either do a community circle in the classroom or work with your children directly. We don't want them to come to school and feel unsafe,
Yeah, I really don't.
Shouldn't that be already implemented in a policy? I mean, that right when that happens, they can start talking to the schools or even the psychologist to come in and say, let's do this right away instead of waiting.
They may have done that, but if it's still residual and kids are still feeling that way, we want to continue the conversation until they feel safe.
So one of the things that I'll never do is pretend that things like that can't happen here. Because I can't, right? Nobody can guarantee that won't happen. So as a superintendent, it's one of the hardest jobs, but it's to make sure that kids are safe. And, as a mom, yeah, a child shot himself at my daughter's high school a few years ago. So I get it. Those things happen. And, it's not something that we ever want to admit, but we have to be prepared.
Yeah.
So I hear you. I understand. It's not fun. It's not, but we do want kids to be, and I wish that I could make it go away. I can't. Mom.
I have 2 kids at Twain in the dual immersion program in 4th grade. So my one kid has a combo, which I think it's kind of been a thing for a while there. And then my other son has a brand new teacher and 32 students in the classroom. So I'm wondering what we're doing about class sizes. It seems like they keep creeping up. And it seems like we keep putting more, like, that sounds ideal to plan individual, for each child individually. We have a brand new teacher in there and 32 students to plan for individually. Are we going to continue with rising class sizes? Are we supporting these teachers enough to provide that? And because I don't want another teacher mid-year who goes, you know what, the other one couldn't handle it. And
I'm out.
Exactly. And it's
don't want
happening.
that,
What are we
right.
doing to retain?
So all of our combo classes do have an aide. So we have an instructional assistant to help. And especially at Twain, I love that the model that they have, because they do small group instruction, right? So the class is split half and half. The aide will take a class or take a supplement what the teacher just taught, and then they split. The teacher teaches and then the aide supplements. So I really like that model. As far as class sizes, we have a cap. So we can't go over a certain cap. And we are in declining enrollment, so we have to make sure that our budget can pay for the teachers that we have, right? So unfortunately, the formula is divided by heads, and we've really pushed to not cut as many teachers as we should have. We are overstaffed because we don't want classes to be so large, but in some grade levels, in some schools, some classes are bigger.
Because they had site subs last year and
We had to cut those. Yeah, so that was one of the budget cuts that we had to make. Dr. Kane?
Speak to teacher support, as you mentioned, a brand new
Yes.
teacher. And I just want to assure you that we work very hard with our new teachers, in particular in my realm for the dual immersion teachers, constantly recruiting, because as you know, at Mitchell, we're adding a grade level every year. We have attrition. We have a person now, Sharice Jones, who used to be at Twain as the ELERT, who is now.
We sold her.
Brought her to the district level. Specifically with instruction, and we're very aware of our new teacher in 4th grade, our new teachers at Mitchell, and her time is divided amongst those teachers to ensure that they know how to support those kids and their team members wrap their arms around them. So you've got the 5th grade teacher and the 4th grade teacher, the 4-5 combo, everybody's working together to keep everybody in the.
And we have 3 teachers on special assignment at every school, and one of their primary jobs is to support new teachers. So they go in, they co-plan, co-teach, They help them do small groups. They teach them how to, do best practices in their classroom. So they have a lot of resources. So hopefully they won't.
Just don't want her up all night, like stressing over, I mean, I don't want to burn her out the first year.
Oh, yeah. I remember those days. We all cried our first year, trust.
I've been playing the last few years, not the first.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephanie. I'm a parent of a second grader at Billy Mitchell in the dual immersion program. I have a couple of appreciations just for one. I am so impressed with the leadership at Billy Mitchell. There is a huge equity focus, and I'll get a little emotional because it's just clear that the staff is giving 110% all the time to support students at Mitchell. It's beautiful. Really supported like with the TOSAs, the new TOSAs that are on board. So just very supportive of that. And I know that the support they're receiving is coming from above to really be focused on equity. So thank you very much for that. I also want to appreciate the district staff that just went into overdrive to get the community schools grant going. Dr. Kane leading that with Tracy. Yes, it was amazing what they did. We had limited time to get that grant in. It was a big lift and they made it happen. And I'm just so excited to see what can come from that grant. It's significant funds for the entire district, for every school in the district, to really continue to think about the whole child and how can we support our whole child so that they continue to grow and flourish and kind of do whatever they want with their life. So really big appreciations for both of those things. Just wanted to loop you in. There's a number of families at Mitchell that are really looking to have trees planted. There's a new landscaping project going, and there's been a number of families that are communicating with the director of maintenance, just really wanting some trees a part of the plan. All the climate projections show that we are going to be in increased heat, right? We had a few days a couple of weeks ago where students couldn't be outside. On the pickup times, families are like huddling behind the marquee and on the side of the building because it's really hot. And then, I'm also thinking about enrollment, like those trees will beautify our campus and they're like a welcome mat to people that are driving by and might think about enrolling their child. Because beautiful things are happening at Mitchell. I'm a former middle school teacher, so I have experience in schools. I worked at different schools. And so I really know that beautiful things are happening. And I appreciate that. And I'm just really wanting to see that more of our landscaping is reflective of that beauty with ideally native trees that are supporting pollinators and just really supporting our environment and our families.
Thank you so much. Dr. Ho just came in, so he heard you say that.
Yes.
And he oversees the facility. So we'll make sure that we get you guys in touch with the right people. Did I just kill the owl? No.
Do have two questions that from parents.
Okay.
Zoom. The first one says, what is the rule for calling for all outdoor activities to be canceled? Is this universal across all school sites, or are principals responsible for setting these protocols for their own site? I want to ensure that moving forward, there is a universal expectation that outdoor activities are completely canceled during such weather. How will you ensure that the school sites follow these protocols? Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the question. So that does come from the district office. And whenever we have inclement weather or any type of hazardous surroundings, we get notification from LACO or other departments, and we make the determination. So I know that some of the superintendents in the area, they had to cancel school because some of their classrooms didn't have air conditioning, but we made the decision cabinet level up here. So myself and the team, and we notified the principals to use the rainy day schedule. So it is universal from the district level down to the sites, and all schools were expected to follow that. We were monitoring the weather daily, and as soon as we saw, okay, it's going to be in the 70s and the kids can play outside, because we know the impact on teachers too, to have their kids inside all day, especially the TKers who just started school and they're still learning, right? So we balance it, but the healthy of our children and our staff who have to be out there monitoring was very important during that heat. So we made the call to push the kids inside.
How substitute teachers selected?
Depends. So we have our own subs. But if you're aware of the labor shortage that has been happening, it's been very hard to hire our in-house subs. All of the site subs that you mentioned that were there last year, they're part of our pool. But because of shortages, we've had to hire some staffing agencies. And they do the screening and they send them. So they're not our employees, but we rely on these partnerships with these staffing agencies to do the clearance, the DOJ fingerprints, the background checks, the training.
So do
Sometimes
you have specific ones for dual immersion and for regular school? Because I know my kid has been in dual immersion since kinder. She's now in her last year of 8th grade. Last year of middle school and 8th grade.
Yeah.
And more often than not,
don't
she
teach that.
does not have a substitute teacher that can teach
So
us
we
Spanish.
try very hard to have teachers that do speak Spanish in our dual language classrooms, but they're not always available. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say two things, and that's first thing, I don't want to offend nobody, but I think the emergency bells and all that, I think that's great. Like, even if it's like an accident thing, my children in their past school, they used to have random emergency bells like that, to where when my children hear that now, they know exactly what to do. They're not running around with their heads cut off or like shook or frightened, because they're used to it. They're prepare them. They're used to it. So now they know exactly what to do and they'll be safe. I think that it should happen more so that children can get used to it and won't be scared. And I think that's the point of it. So, it won't startle them, because say if they was outside and they hear the same noise, what they gonna do, run across the street, get run over? Like, it has and I'm pretty sure the teacher's like, hey, calm down, and hey, let's do this. Like, I'm sure they're not letting them so I don't know. I think that's good, because it prepares a child for just in case you hear that anywhere, and you won't the child won't panic. They know exactly what to do or stick by their parent. I don't know. I just feel like that's like training, like military training kind of, but not, I don't know. I just feel like that was cool, or whatever. But also too, as far as like medical, my son is a type 1 diabetic. Oh, you guys have when he was at Rogers, it was like the best treat. They know exactly what to do, and I was impressed. I was very impressed, and they handled him very, very well with such delicacy, his condition, and they do that to all each. I've seen how
That
they do
goes
that
to
to
our
all the children.
MTSS, right? So every child, regardless of what they come to us with, need to have
That's
access.
beautiful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing
Yes.
that. I want to be respectful of your time. Okay, one more, and it's 10:20, so we're 20 minutes over. Sir, yes.
Safety, I'm a parent at FDR, and we have talked to the sheriff's department. We've talked to Hawthorne Police Department. We've talked to Gardena about the way that people come in and out and the crossing guards, and that there's not another crossing guard. So we've noticed that they all say you have to talk to CHP because they have to come involved. But is there anything we can do to talk to somebody to really regulate as far as what the traffic is, and our crossing guards that do a great job?
Crossing guards
Yeah.
are hired by the city.
Right, and we've talked to them,
Okay.
and they've said it's kind of like a runaround on everything,
is.
including, and I know you guys have been dealing with this because we read it in the Post, about the drop off and pickup, about the parents either not following procedures. Is there any way we can find out, or use an independent organization to come in and show us the proper way to come in and out, instead of everybody just jockeying in and out of all the districts? I've heard it's all the different schools.
I think it would be the sheriff's department that would do that.
I talked to them too,
We
and
can
they,
ask them. We can ask them. We have a pretty good relationship with the sheriffs.
yeah,
and-
they were
and
there. They were nice.
Yeah.
But they said, again, they're limited to their resources.
They are limited to their, but if we do like a special training, we could
Right.
ask them to do that. I'm sure that we could get something.
Right.
But the cross guards, that's a city issue.
Yeah.
And when I first started 3 years ago, they cut some of the cross guards and it didn't have a lot of impact, but depends on their budget too.
Right.
So again, parents, this is your community.
Right.
You know, you have to advocate. They have city council meetings, and if you feel that this is a topic that you really want to see a change in, I encourage you to go to their city council.
Yeah,
meetings.
we've written to them too, and
Okay.
it's still like a hands tied kind of thing.
I think the school in Hawthorne, I think FDR is actually in Hawthorne.
Well, it's unincorporated. That's the problem.
Okay, yeah.
So, and we've talked and we've seen almost in multiple mornings, kids almost get hit because of how people don't stop. They don't stop at signs. It's really.
The gate, my child goes to FDR. I don't think there should be no crossing walks because all you gotta do is pull up to the school and let your child inside the gate and you gotta pick them up and they just come. I don't think there should be no crossing walks. It's
On the
if the
corner.
parent is too lazy to walk the child in the gate or drive inside, like.
Corner, so you
plenty
have a
room.
busy corner.
So let me talk to the sheriff and see what they can do to help us just get a flow going, because
Right.
we have some new parents that aren't accustomed to it yet. But we can definitely talk to Sergeant Smith, yeah, or Troy.
Yeah.
our he's our
We've
sergeant.
seen them.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm happy to see it. Lots of dads, because so usually it's the mamas that come, right? Not to be sexist, but it's nice to see some dads in the house. Yes, ma'am. Señora.
Sí, estoy con él, vengo también de
Necesitamos, ajá.
de STR, sí hay mucho problema eso con el
Yes,
parqueadero.
there are a lot of issues with the parking lot. There is a lot of traffic, and sometimes inside they form a triple line, 3 wide, but that doesn't even allow people to walk. So yes, there are a lot of disruptions here. All the schools are impacted. As you know,
That's right. Our streets are
the streets around Lawndale are very narrow.
hard.
Sí.
Yeah, we do our best.
Digo, pues le hubiera ido como
Signage.
no se pueden parquear como
Los
en la
carteles, we need signs.
calle. Lo que pasa que también por
Yo tengo un poco de miedo de hablar.
Something that happens is I'm afraid to talk to the sheriff. Are you afraid to talk to the sheriff? Yeah, because they might give tickets to all the parents. We don't want to see that happen. We're afraid, but you block people. And so people will stop someplace else. I'll stop my car someplace else, and I'm afraid of getting a ticket. We're going to talk with the sheriff to see if they can help us. And we need more space for people to be able to stop so that people don't stop. Thank you for
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, there's a whole room of staff available.